We are live. Let's see. Every time I do this, I'm like, wait, what number is it? It used to be easy to keep track. This is the 48-hour art check, round 216. Mr. Emirates, how you doing?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good. How about you?
Good. Yeah, better than last time. Last episode was super helpful for me. So that was,
yeah, me too.
So if you guys want to go back and watch the art hand paint episode, that was really helpful. And so I am hopefully in recovery and still able to, or maybe at least I'm not further injuring myself. That's
right. That's key
at this point.
At least start there.
Right, because that's kind of where I was headed. So cool. Yeah. So we've got a few people that are watching, and so say hello in the live chat there, so we know what's going on. And Scott Circland is going to join us in a few minutes when he can. And other than that, we're ready to roll. So,
sweet.
What have you gotten done in the last 48 hours?
Oh boy, tons of fun. So I think I'll kick it off with the main thing that I was trying to get done was getting back to work on my comic, right? All my writing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tripped upon a gold mine recently. It's been, like I said, it's been a couple months since I've actually been working on my book.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize just how much I had done. Like, there's actually a lot more for the specific act that I'm trying to work on that I didn't even remember was there. It was kind of like I was working on that right as this happened, and something about, I don't know, trauma, I guess, can kind of block stuff out. And I forgot, but no, I have a lot more done than I thought that I did. So I've been able to just kind of dive in and start plugging in those scenes that I need to fill out the rest of it. And what I did mostly this week was sort of fine tune some of the stuff that was already there to get me back up to speed of what I got and what I was trying to do. It's mostly a structure issue, which is awesome. That's way better than having to make stuff up from scratch, come up with things, that aren't already there. This is more just organizing what's already been written. There's only one key part that isn't written, but I'm kind of debating if I even need it or not. But other than that, so that was all of my writing this week, was just that, refamiliarizing myself with the stuff that I didn't even know I had, which is awesome.
Cool.
That was cool. On the front of art and doing my characters, I didn't complete it like I wanted to. I tried very hard, but I'll get into kind of what sucked up my week in the challenges section. But I'll share the progress that I did make on my 6 fan arts here. There we go. Yeah, so I don't know which ones I did this week and which ones were the best, but I did quite a bit. So I finished coloring some. So I know I did. I finished Tank Girl this week, so that was a big one that I really enjoyed. I love that character. I'm pretty sure I already had V done. Lady Death, I think I was just starting to pencil at the time, and so I finished her this week. That was another fun one. I got started on Spider Jerusalem from Transmetropolitan. I did not finish inking him. I got further along in the inks, but I felt like I was making it worse rather than making it better. So I started over on this. I redrew this one twice too. And then this was Sasa Lisi from the comic Casanova. Awesome, crazy, trippy spy comic with lots of mod fashion, and it's a riot. It's crazy. She's a really cool interdimensional being character that I liked. Finished the pencils on her, did not finish the inks. So technically I failed that part, but compared to what I've been doing since this whole thing started, I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm actually starting to get my sea legs again and get back in the groove. So
good.
It was fun. Yeah. I mean, I'm considering it mission accomplished because it's way better than doing nothing.
Oh yeah. And I don't know. I don't ever really look at forward momentum as a pass fail thing. It's
Sure.
just forward momentum.
Yeah.
So Josh and I talk about this all the time, where there are times where you're riding your bike up the hill, and then there are times where you're coasting down the hill, but it's all forward momentum. And as long, if you're coming out of kind of a slump, that's going to be a bit of a hard pedal up the hill. But at some point in time, you hit a stride and you kind of ride that as long as you can. And so,
yeah, well, the bike was in the creek before all this, so it's good.
You just steal it back from the kids that took it from you.
Yep. Tires flat. I think I'm missing the chain.
That's funny. Good. Well, I did. I was going to do the video, and I got all of it shot. So this is the video of a studio tour, and then talking about some motorcycle riding stuff. And I got all that shot. I got it all edited on a rough cut, and then I'm just doing like a final pass and adding graphics. And so I'll have that good to go tonight.
Sweet.
And then I also started building my this scene, and it's the camera work is kind of janky right now, but the idea is that I'm showing people this is a pitch to artists to kind of show how their artwork can be incorporated into the animation. And so you're seeing a lot of Chris McQuinlan, Fat Rocket Studio stuff in this. But anyway, that's kind of it's playing with cameras and getting refamiliarizing myself with kind of Z-Space layout. And it took me way longer than it should have to cut out. I mean, I have like a Photoshop file with like 40 layers now, just full of like signs and edges of buildings and like stuff that I can kind of like layer. Mm-hmm. It's like, there's not a ton that you can see, but off to the left, you can see like the one-way sign, that yellow car, and the graffiti wall, and then the hole in the wall that's closer to us. Like each one of those is a separate layer that had to be clipped. And then if you look really closely on the right, that is a scene that's also like through that door. You can kind of see, it's moving parallax. So anyway, the idea is I'm just watching a lot of Gorillaz videos right now. trying to
great inspiration.
Yeah, I'm trying to reverse engineer kind of like how Jamie Hewlett is making all that work. And
awesome.
Mine's going to look different, but it's actually going to function fairly similar. So, and then I've been taking a bunch of screenshots of movies.
Okay.
So anytime there's talking or driving, I'm going to do some reverse engineer on like the composition of like how they're shooting like inside the car and outside the car and from the hood of the car, and then like all that stuff, because I've got like the vehicles and things, and I'm going to have conversations while they're driving, and so I need to make sure that I have like all of my assets designed in a way that makes sense. So I've got to do profiles of everybody here. I've got 3/4 on most of them. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's looking sweet. I noticed, I saw Chris McQuinlan's stuff in there too, like the stickers and stuff on the stop sign pole.
Yeah.
And the T-shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's cool. So I've had a few people kind of jump in. Gaz, who's in the chat right now, his Horror 4 is going to make an appearance in the background of the characters. Is going to be reading it, and yeah, so it'll be kind of fun to have everybody in there.
Cool,
anyway,
man.
So how about challenges?
Oh boy. Well, okay. So as far as the art and the writing goes, not really many challenges on that front of just, doing it. My challenge was, I had a client that I was talking about at the end of our last episode. So I had even forgotten about it because it was just email at that point, but we were supposed to have a meeting. And it just turned into a whole thing. The meeting was supposed to be like a quick little thing of just sort of going over, what my rates would be for what they need. They wanted to elaborate on some stuff. I'll get into more of that maybe later. But the challenge, I would say, is that I gave them way too much of my time. And because I did that, it kept setting me up for these other situations where, okay, now I got to write another email. Now I got to write a new proposal. Now I got to just write another email after the proposal, and all these kinds of extra things that I did not anticipate at all this week. Not to mention the client the project for the client ended up being extremely time sensitive. So it wasn't a thing where I could say, hey, can we talk about this another time? It was, hey, if I'm going to do this job for you, we kind of have to figure out all this stuff. So I guess I'm just committed to being in an email tornado this whole week. So big lesson learned, I guess. I feel like I handled it as well as I could have, but at the same time, now this is yet another experience that I've had where if I see something like this coming in the future, I'm going to deal with it a little differently, and maybe even think of new questions to ask right off the bat, like how time sensitive is your project? Because if it's got to be done, in a very short amount of time, well, then maybe I'll just say no, or maybe I'll, reframe exactly what kind of communication we have to decide if we're going to move forward or not. Just that kind of stuff. So that was an enormous challenge. It sucked up a lot of my time, especially that key time where, which for me is early in the morning. Like I wake up, I eat my breakfast and have my coffee, and it seems like that's sort of a pivotal moment for me where I either start working and I'll work for several hours, or I don't, and then I won't for several hours. And it was in those times that I was writing these emails and setting up these meetings. And so then it bled into lunch, and then I'm having lunch and I'm not even getting started on anything until after lunch. And for me, being an early morning person now, that's more than half my day already. And so I think had I not done that, I mean, it would have been very easy to finish these. I should have been able to do one a day like I had planned. But so that was a big challenge. I don't foresee that challenge happening again this week. So, thankful for that. Hello, Scott.
Well, that's kind of a bit of a foreshadow on what we'll talk about today. I've got something that I have recently implemented in the last couple of months that might be beneficial, and I have loved it. Yeah. And the clients that I'm working with have kind of liked it as well, and it kind of avoids a lot of that stuff. Anyway,
okay.
So challenges for me, we talked about my hands not really working that well and being in some pain last week, and so it's just trying to get that back. I've been doing a lot of those stretches. I've been heating, I've got this 2 of these that I got at the pharmacy, and they go hot and cold. And so I toss it in the microwave and I heat it up. And I'm just not used to that much of a literal warm up and cool down, like an actual temperature wise. And so it just takes time. And then I'm making sure I take breaks and a lot of that stuff. And so it's nothing huge, but I mean, there's some definite improvement and definite movement in the right direction. So, just most of that type of stuff. And then my youngest kid is still not walking, but he's climbing now. And so now he's now definitely 100% moved out of the phase where you can just leave him in a room, or be in the kitchen while he's like around the corner. Like you have to have eyes on him every moment because he is going to electrocute himself or light something on fire. He's just, he's just at that age where he's just bent on destruction. So, so that's just, so the not art time and the not day job time is no longer relaxing. It's, it's like I might as well just be on the floor with him. So a lot of it is just me crawling around rather than hanging out and getting stuff done and whatever. So anyway, and that's probably going to be like that for the next 5 years. So that's
oh, that's awesome.
I mean, my oldest is 10, and so there's an 8-year gap, and I kind of got used to no diapers and no like imminent death.
Yeah.
I'm just moving back into the, dealing with poop and blood. He hasn't bled yet, but that kid's climbing on everything. So
he's earning his nickname, Mad Dog.
Yeah, exactly. So Scott, you want to jump in on challenges or plans or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I've let's see. Should I briefly just go? I know I'm late, but should I briefly just go what I've been working on?
Yeah.
And then I can go into challenges. I'll try to wrap it all into one.
Okay.
So I'll do a screen share here. So I've been doing a lot of stuff, but the main thing that I'm doing is I'm about to launch this new product. So I've got pretty much it's pretty much done. I have to do a video for it, kind of explaining what it is and everything. So I'll kind of show you. These are some of the product images. And it's basically just a digital tool that you can build these guides and everything. It's for Procreate, Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity, Clip Studio. And it's just got all these different like brushes that you can use, and you can drop in and build, templates for creating heroes. And then it's also got this 25-page little guide. And yeah, so that's that. So that's the main thing that I have been working on. Also, I premiered a video like I do usually on Mondays. I packed some orders, shipped some stuff out. I actually got a few physical orders. I've been getting some digital stuff, but not so much physical. So I had to make a trip to the post office. Let's see. Just a bunch of mainly just this product thing that I've been working on. So as far as challenges, most of today, I mean, it's when you're doing something like this, you think you're done with it, and then you start to do like, oh, I just got to write some quick instructions, and I go to write them, and it's not working. It's hard to follow. And then I decided I gotta make this look nice and build all the, kind of this PDF of all these different instructions. And it's for like 5 different programs. And then I couldn't figure out how to explain it. So just writing it, I actually had to go purchase a product that was kind of doing stuff in the same formats that I'm doing, just so I could see how, because I try, and some of the stuff you can't, especially like Clip Studio, like a lot of this stuff I was reaching out to people that I know that do a lot of work in Clip Studio, and they're like, yeah, I've never done that before. So it's like a lot of this stuff just people aren't doing. So it's like, how do I either figure out how to build these brushes and all, and they're all different. Every single program has different ways of doing things. So I downloaded this product, and then I kind of looked at how they were explaining how to do all this stuff and rewording it and all that stuff. So what I thought was just gonna be a simple, like a text document saying, I'll just do this and this. And then I started looking at this and confusing. It needs to have pictures and stuff like that along with it. So yeah, that's kind of what I was doing today. But hopefully, I've got all the tutorials except for the Clip Studio one, and I think Clip Studio is fairly simple as far as installing. It's kind of drag and drop a little bit. So anyway, so that's what I've been working on, and I think I'm gonna after I get this thing finished, I think I'm gonna take a little break for a day, maybe a day or two, just because I've been like working nonstop on this, but. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing in challenges.
Yeah, that's great. It looks great.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Holy crap!
Would it be faster to do? I mean, not now. This is one of those things that I probably shouldn't say because I should have said it 2 days ago. But would it be faster just to cut a video as a tutorial rather than a PDF?
Well, I am gonna do a video.
Oh, you're doing that in addition?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think you need both, because some people just don't want to learn from videos. And when you're including, something in a pack, I think at least most of the other products that I've seen that are doing stuff like this, they usually have, written tutorials and stuff. So, but I'll probably be doing stuff on my, I'll do like probably a demo on my website and stuff or on YouTube or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's just it takes so long to do this stuff, and I thought this was going to be, I guess, relative to like the Comic Maker Toolkit, it didn't take as long, but because a lot of this stuff is just using assets that I already had, like from the avatar builders, and I made more things, but it's basically taking those assets which before were just vector files or PNGs or whatever, and actually building brushes out of them, or custom shapes in Photoshop, or symbols in Illustrator, so they can easily be dragged and resized and all that stuff. So a lot of the stuff I already had, but it's just it's finding a new way to package it and everything for people to use, and so people can use it for Procreate and all that stuff. But it still took forever. So I'm just happy that it's almost finished.
Cool. Yeah, that's great.
Frank wants to know if he's able to use it on GIMP. It will include PNG files, and I think you can. I don't know how GIMP handles like Photoshop stuff, so I don't know how it handles custom shapes. But yeah, there are going to be there's both each like category, like there's bodies and there's heads and all that kind of stuff. There's a PNG that has them all together, and you can kind of copy and paste it, or individual PNGs that you can use in pretty much any program. So
awesome.
Mike, what are your plans for the next 48 hours?
Oh, for the next 48 hours. So I'm kind of thinking in terms of until the end of the month right now. So I think, because my original plan was to have my script done for issue number 1 by the end of this month. So I think a good mile marker, considering what I found this week, and I had mentioned my issues with structure. So I'm thinking a good mile marker to let me know that I'm on the right track would be to at least have those structure issues resolved by Wednesday. We're going to do the next check-in, right? So at least have those structure issues resolved by this coming Wednesday, and have those pieces that are missing in place, even if that means that they're in a rough form. That doesn't have to be final or anything, but I'd like to be able to look at my script by Wednesday and say, well, this is it, and just have those last few days to maybe tighten up some dialogue or whatever, because I'd really like to get drawing this thing, or at least thumbnails. I'd like to get working on the art of the book itself by May, hopefully within the first week of May. So, I'm not going to try to do something that I'm not going to try to force myself to do something if I feel like it needs more time, but I don't want to belabor this and have this go on much longer either. My plan was to have the script done by April. So yeah, that's it. I'm not going to commit to any more art projects this week either, because that's the most important thing right now is the comic. So I'm probably going to put these 6 fan arts on pause for a little bit until I'm sure that I have that script ready to go. And I might not even do them after that, to be honest, because I need to get this book going. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Cool. Definitely script.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good idea. I am going to, by Wednesday, I won't have the voices cut. So I'm going to get the rest of the scenes done. As far as like layout, I'm gonna sketch up just 2 or 3 frames of a storyboard just to make sure I know what's going on, and then I'm going to do a profile illustration and rig of 2 of those characters. So that should get me where I need to be to have this thing done by the end of the week. So, Scott, how about you?
Okay, so like I mentioned, I gotta film stuff for footage and everything for a video for this, kind of just like an introduction to show what it is and everything. And yeah, basically between tomorrow and Wednesday, it's gonna be a lot of video stuff. I've got to shoot the video for Wednesday. It's a lettering tutorial for the series I'm doing on YouTube, and then I've got another. I still have another episode that I need to do. I need to like drop the B-roll in and everything, and do that. And then if I get that stuff done, I need to come up with an outline for 3 more episodes in order to stay on schedule. So cool. Yeah, I think totally, other than the one I put out today, there's 2 that are, once I finish this one I'm talking about, that'll be 2 more in the can. So 2 weeks, and then 3 after, I think 4 total after that. So I think there's probably a total of maybe 5, 6 episodes left before the series wraps up. So
cool. That's awesome. That's nice. You've been cranking on that for a long time.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Okay, good. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to deal with nightmare clients. And so tell your friends, go run outside and shout it on the rooftops. or on your porch if you're not living in Morocco. And we'll be right back. Okay, today's topic is pros versus clients, or how to keep your professionalism in your communication when you're dealing with somebody who is not being professional. Mike, I know some of this is going to be, not something that you're going to say publicly, but do you want to give us kind of a rundown of why this was? I mean, you kind of alluded to it in the beginning, but you want to give us kind of a rundown of why this is on your mind?
Yeah. So I'm not going to say any names or give any, incriminating specifics. and for the record, in case they happen to be watching, I've been dealing with multiple clients recently, so could be any of them. So, anyways, this one kind of came. This one, it's going to be tough to leave out information that would, but whatever, I don't care. It went badly, and it is what it is. So this one was. I was approached by somebody who's kind of made their name in the film industry. We'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything specific, but they are a friend of a friend from long ago. And so assumed that, like most people, just at home with nothing to do, which isn't true. I got a lot to do. but they don't. And so they were trying to come up with a way to mitigate that and to be proactive and to come up with a production. But the thing is that it wasn't just a for fun thing. This was a commercial thing. And that's where things started to kind of go wrong straight from the start. They approached me because I was once pretty good friends with some people that they know, not necessarily the company, not necessarily the people that are running this company itself, but people that they know. So there's a distinction there. This isn't like my buddy or something coming to me to ask me to do something. This is a friend of a friend situation. This means like I can't do favors for this person. That's principles. Anyway, so they had said, hey, can you do a comic book cover? That's what this was all about, a comic book cover. And of course I could do a comic book cover. Absolutely. So that was the initial exchange. No problem. This sounds awesome. This is something that I could do quickly too. Great. I'm excited. I'm on board for this. So I send them to my website. That's typically what I do for anybody that asks me about that kind of thing, because I got it all laid out there. So, hey, here's my website. Here's some examples of what I do and the kind of minimum that my rates kind of start at. So if we're looking to go forward, this is where we're going to start at. If that's already too high, then this conversation will be over. Checked it out. Thought already I got an email back kind of trying to guilt me into understanding their situation, that, oh, well, we've got so-and-so working on it and they're not going to charge that much. And, oh, we've got this guy, he worked for this show and he's not going to charge that much. And, oh, we got this guy, he worked on this thing that you probably like because you're into comics, right? Oh, well, all this kind of schmoozing bullshit, to put it frank, about why I should be willing to give them a break. And my rates aren't that high, honestly. So I was immediately a little bit put off, like from the bat. And so, he wanted to take it there. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to keep this professional. So in as professional way as possible, I just explained that my rates and my ability to charge, my need to charge for the kind of work that he's asking me to do is non-negotiable. It's, I have other work that I got to do. This is going to take time. It's going to take effort, and I need to be compensated. And that's it. If this isn't something that we can do, then, that's fine too. I don't wish you any ill will. Maybe we could work together another time, but not paying me is not an option. And so I left it at that. I got another email back, an excited one, that, he talked with the business partner and they've agreed that they're going to pay me my full rate. Awesome. Great. Excellent. We're going to have a meeting on, I think it was Monday or something like that. And we'll fill you in on exactly what we need and all this kind of stuff. And already that was sort of a little bit of a flag for me. And I had talked to one of my friends too, who had said, well, that's like a big red flag. Like, why do you have to talk about it? Just tell me what you want in the email and, get working on it. Well, right. the meeting turned out to be sort of an attempt at further manipulation. We got on the conference call. We started talking about, oh, how exciting it's going to be, and I've done this and I've done that, and I'm working with these people and working with those people, and we got this company interested and we got that company interested, and oh, we're going to feature your work. They kept using those kind of words, and we got this person involved and that person involved, and oh, I don't want to say the name, but we got some big actor who might be this character. And the whole time I kept it professional, but the whole time I kept thinking, like, I don't care. Like, what do you want me to draw? Like, we're already a half hour in and I still don't know what you want me to do for you. You're just trying to convince me that this is amazing. And so we finally get to that sort of breaking point where I was actually getting a little irritated, and maybe I broke character a little bit, and he could tell because I let out like an audible sigh, and he asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah, just I'd really like to discuss what you want me to do for you. Like, you're telling me a lot about this whole project and everything involved and the people that might be involved in stuff, but I still don't know what you need from me. Like, none of this helps me do my job for you. I'm just supposed to be making a cover. So all I need to know is what's on that cover, and then I could tell you how much that cover is going to cost. Can we talk about that? Well, man, it exploded into a way more than a cover. It turned out that there were no character designs to speak of at all, but there was an entire team of 6 would-be superheroes that are going to be the next best thing. And this should be easy, right? Because we want you to have your fingerprint on it. We want you to have some fun, but fun doesn't pay the bills. Like, I'm having plenty of fun right now, like, if I'm going to have fun for you, like, you got to pay me for that fun. And character design's no joke. Like, to me, that's something that gets complicated. You're talking about creating IP, especially when you're approaching somebody where this isn't a favor. This isn't a bunch of people that are looking to have some fun and maybe try a thing out. This guy's dropping big names. So how am I supposed to commit to creating characters for this kind of thing without also thinking about, at least in some capacity, licensing or at least a release of, like, hey, I don't want to own this. You can have it. Like, there's a lot of gray area in there. Like, suddenly this wasn't just a simple cover commission. This was so much more. Right. But it kept getting worse. It kept getting piled on with even more stuff. So not only did we have to create all these characters from scratch, now we're ripping off existing characters as well. So that gets into sticky territory. In addition to that, all these characters need to be on separate layers because we want to be able to extract them to use in different ways throughout the series and whatnot. And so now, I'm drawing stuff that I wouldn't have had to draw. So I tried to explain to him, like, if you have an 11 by 17 and you draw a picture, but now you need those things that are hidden that you didn't draw already. Now you're essentially like adding on square footage to this thing. This 11 by 17 is getting bigger because now you got to shift these people out to be able to finish drawing that leg that was hidden or that torso or whatever. That's more work. And every step of the way, I kept trying to explain how, I can do whatever it is you need to do, but it's going to cost more. I made sure to say that each and every time, like, yes, that I can do that, but it's going to cost more. I hope it's not too difficult for you. No, it won't be difficult, but it's going to cost more. And so by the end of this thing, it ended up being that, he wants this cover, he wants 6 characters designed. He wants all of them separate so that they could use them for other promotional materials for the show. And he wants one to be able to be a life-size cutout, which is a completely different story because now I got to make that thing in vector and, redraw it as well. I can't just, it was like, so I ended it with just so much information that had been thrown at me that I needed to regroup. I needed to make a whole quote. I couldn't just spit something out at him in that meeting. I had to really look at this stuff and think about what I would charge for this kind of thing. So I told him, let's take a break and let's reconvene at another time. Give me some time to put together a quote for you because this is a lot more than just a cover. This is basically production art. You're asking for production art. You're asking for things that are going to help you design and create characters for this thing that other people could potentially use to design costumes and stuff. You're asking for this cutout. You're asking for these separations and stuff. This is a bigger thing. So give me some time. I'll put something together. And so that's what I did. And I charged what I felt was fair, but it was clearly way more than he expected, because he was pretty angry when I sent him the quote. He didn't go overboard, but it was very unprofessional. He kept reiterating that he didn't expect that it was going to be 11 times my original offer, but I had never made an offer. I had sent him to my website. He took my website as my offer. He had said that, he repeated that like multiple times. So I could tell he was trying to make a point. Like, oh, you shyster, 11 times what you offered. What do you, damn it. But yeah, it was pretty nasty. And the best that I could come up with to try to keep professional without, just writing him a new one, just like, hey, buddy, I was supposed to do a cover. You asked for all this extra stuff and you were like, what do you expect? I just wrote him a very nice email back, apologizing for any misconceptions that may have been my fault, and telling him that I could still do the cover. Just the cover, not designing characters, not doing all this extra stuff, yada, yada, yada. I could still do the cover, and that my rate for that cover was still, not much more than what my bottom line is on my website, to be perfectly honest, which I personally think is a steal for something that you're going to be using to promote this thing and use as a feature inside these episodes and stuff. But yeah, I presented it as that, like, hey, look, I'm not trying to be a bad guy. If all you needed was what you asked me for in the first place, this is what it would cost. Let's do this, But yeah, no response from that, like no reply at all. So as far as I'm concerned, he's chosen to burn that bridge and kind of like just, I don't know, he felt very entitled, I guess, to all this extra stuff. Maybe he's maybe I was supposed to think he's a bigger deal or something, and just, oh, this is an opportunity for me. Let me just do all this free work. But it was difficult. It was difficult to maintain that composure and not just like, fire off. Hey, buddy, look, you can't just like, what do you call the plumber? And then you finally get him into your bathroom, and you're like, hey man, what do you think about the grout over here? You think you could just do that tile while you're here? I was thinking maybe this blue, you could just, really quick. I mean, that's kind of related to what you do, right? Like, who does that? It's craziness. So anyways, that's my story, my rant. I'm getting all fired up.
Yeah. It sounds like this guy was trying to get you to build a whole universe under the guise of a cover.
Yeah.
Like, why not? I need this universe built. How do I do this cheaply and effectively? Well, if you just put all these things in a cover and just call it cover art, then I can have this guy design all these characters for me and their background,
Yeah.
That's wow, that's a new one.
He tried to tell me it would be easy too. Like, it's not like a big deal. We're just looking for, I don't want to say what he actually said.
Easier to the person that's not doing it.
Yeah.
Anybody. So a couple red flags. One of my rules is, any major red flag immediately kills the deal for me or triples the price. And I just tell them right off the bat. As soon as something like that comes down the pipe, I just explain, these are the policies that I've got. If you want to do it, that's great. Let's do it. If not, hey, no hard feelings. I understand not everybody's a good match, and good luck out there. And sometimes that people will realize really quick, like, oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I took it the wrong way. So, and I don't know whether they meant it that way or not, but I give them kind of one mulligan. And then beyond that, I just say, hey, you know what? this seems like I don't think this is really going to work. My schedule is filled up in the time that we've been talking about this. Appreciate you thinking of me. Good luck finding somebody who will do this for you. That's kind of that early on, because I've done the same thing where you waste hours and hours and hours and hours. The thing I've started doing recently, and I absolutely love this, is instead of charging as if I am unskilled labor, which is like, I'm going to show up, we're going to dig some holes. You don't need me to think. And so you're not paying me to think, you're paying me to dig holes.
Right.
I've kind of taken this from Chris Doe mentioned this, and he recommended a couple books. And I've read those, and I love this concept. I charge for diagnosis. And so there's a discovery phase that I go into. And anytime there's any ambiguity in the conversation, I will begin to suggest a discovery phase. And basically I say, hey, you know what? It looks like we are having some trouble defining the scope of this project, which is totally fine. I'm happy to do that. But as you know, your time is valuable, my time is valuable. And so let's lock this down. Let's put some money to it so that I can devote some real time to figuring out what it is that you need. We'll do phase one is discovery, because it sounds like you want a lot of things. You're not exactly sure which direction to go or what's best. And that's totally fine. But I can't in good faith give you the effort that you need to solve these problems without dedicating some real production time to it. And so let's do some discovery, and we'll lock that down. I can give you a rough estimate of what the prices may be, but without a defined scope of what's going on. I have no idea, and my favorite phrase that I stole from one of my friends is how long is a piece of string? It's like it's as long as you need it to be, or as long as you have money for, or as short as you cut it, or whatever it is. Like, I mean, it's a piece of string, but a 2-inch piece of string is not as useful as a 3-foot piece of string, but a 30-foot piece of string might be way more overkill than what you need, because you really only needed 6 feet of it. And so let's figure out how long the piece of string is. And so, I usually will quote a price based on how frustrating I think that experience is going to be. And here's what I found. I found that the good clients that are not looking to screw you, but actually are kind of undecided, and they're not sure how the creative process works, or they're not sure how how to engage with you appropriately, or they think they need you to do stuff because they like your stuff, but they don't even really know what the problem is that they're trying to solve. Those type of people totally get the idea of discovery. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. Right. And as long as they see that like your prices are within an affordable range for their budget. And I tell them that up front. I say, hey, this could be anywhere between X and Y. Right. And so I don't know where that is. And I want to make sure that you get the good value for what it is that you want, because I would rather have a long-term relationship of consistent work with you than gouge you. I'm not interested in gouging you. Yeah. Then if you're cool with somewhere in there potentially, and we can scale the work of the project based on what it is that you need, let's do this. And I haven't done this a ton, but I have done this 3 times, and all 3 times they haven't pushed back at all. They said, yeah, that makes total sense. Let's figure this out. It's never a ton of money, but it's enough. It's enough money to show that they're serious and that they understand a value exchange. Mm-hmm. Other people will see that and they'll say, well, you're trying to get money, from me without any work. I mean, we're just talking. I'm like, no, talking is my brain solving problems and giving it to you. Yeah. That is valuable. Yeah. And so, people who solve high-level cognitive problems get paid high-level rates. And what you're asking is going to drastically affect the outcome of this project or this business or this whatever, you saw value in it or you wouldn't have engaged me at all.
Right.
And so if it's worth something to you, it's worth figuring out what the scope of it is. If it's not worth something to you, then you can go with somebody less professional and risk it. That's fine. Go roll the dice. That's another thing I stole from Chris Do, is throwing shade at the competition while you extol a virtue of working with you. I will literally just say, I am not the cheapest person in town. And if you want to risk it with somebody who's a little less proven, you could probably save some money. I'm happy to point you to some students or something. They would love the work, and they'll be a fraction of the cost of working with me. But if you work with me, you're going to get decades of experience of doing it right. And I charge for that, but you can rest easy that you're not going to pay for it 2 or 3 times to try to figure out if somebody is going to do it right or not.
Right. Yeah. That's the key. Like my rates are my rates because I know that I can do the best work that I can do in that time that I would give somebody. And so, and they're not extravagant rates either, but it's that time is worth that money. And I was even able to quote him time frames like, oh, that's a 4-hour thing. That's a 3-hour thing. That's a, in real time. Like I know what I can do enough at this point that I know how much time. And he had a very short deadline too. So it's like, yeah, I can do all this in that time. Like good luck finding, another person that could do that. And for that rate.
That should cost extra right there.
Yeah. And that was my one kind of favor in my quote was I didn't add extra for that time because the person that he knows, yes, I was once very good friends with them for very long time. So, that was that. But yeah, I liked what you said too about, I'm not trying to price gouge you. I had used similar language during our conference call about that. I tried to tell him each time that he brought something up that this is possible, but it's going to come at a different cost, and not doing this to try to bleed money out of you. But each of these steps takes more time, and time in this situation is money. It's worth monetary value to me because it's a service that I'm providing you. The longer that service takes, and especially the more it bleeds into additional days, I have to charge you for that. It was interesting because everything that you said outside, I picked up some things that I'm going to use in the future for sure. And I think I could be a little more clear, a little bit more maybe just blunt about some of the things that I wasn't, and maybe that could have helped us to come to the consensus during the conference instead of after. But there was a few things that you had said in there that I had tried, and it's just interesting because looking back on it now, it really feels like that latter scenario that you were saying, where this was someone who was literally just trying to get something out of me. There was no there was no desire to actually form a real relationship here.
Right.
And that's very apparent actually.
Yeah, because if somebody is looking for a relationship and they realize that they have overstepped, they make amends. If I say or do something that's out of bounds, I apologize for it, and I make it right. But if I don't care about the relationship, I might still do that because I try to be a good person, but I'm not. It's not like with a longtime friend or a business partner or my wife or something. And so you do invest in relationships. I'll tell you another thing. Another rule of mine that I really try to stick to is as soon as it feels like I am putting an undue amount of effort in trying to convince you of the value, I'm not interested in being in that relationship because you came to me. You came to me, and you came to me for a reason. And if that reason is that you see good quality value in the work that I produce, then that's going to be a great relationship. But if that reason is that you think you can squeeze me, that's going to be apparent in the way that you make me try to work for it. And if you make me try to work for it, I'll walk. I've got other projects. I don't need or want this that badly. And I think being able to walk away from these negotiations is huge. And for me, it's always been great to say, I love this project. I think it's great. I don't need it. And so, if this works out for you and it's a win-win for both of us, let's do it. But otherwise, I've got tons of stuff on my plate. And so, if this works out, I'd love to do it. If it doesn't work out, hey, I wish you the best and we can move on. But at no point in time, as soon as I find myself trying to chase them, because here's the thing, the same creepy pickup artist bar psychology that a-holes use to try to like manipulate people into doing stuff that they wouldn't normally do on a night out is the same type of stuff that buster clients try to do. And so one of those techniques is negging, where they try to talk you down, they try to devalue you, they try to get you to chase them, they try to retreat so that you advance, and that type of thing. And as soon as you do that psychologically in your mind, you have set a goal to get this to prove something to them. I don't have anything to prove to anybody else. I don't want to prove anything to anybody else. I'm proving things to myself, and those that enjoy what I'm doing, I love it. I love to have you along for the ride. But if at any point in time, I just had a conversation the other day where there's 3 of us that teach in the department that I teach in, 60 to 80 years of experience between the 3 of us. High quality industry standard stuff. I mean, one of the guys, owned and operated a very successful business in the UK and stuff. And the client started trying to get us to prove to him that we were good at what we did. And I loved, none of the 3 of us took the bait. We all just moved right past that. We were just like,
there was a lot of that in this conference call. A lot of that. Yeah. You're so talented. Oh, it's just amazing, man. You're just so talented.
Great.
Okay. Obviously you like what I do. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. Like, what are you doing? What are you trying to say with this?
Yeah. And I mean, that's great. And I try to deflect, too much praise as well, because that also can be kind of they're buttering you up and stuff like that. But I mean, for the most part, any one of those things, and it's really hard. And we've all done this, and I do this constantly, but it's really hard in the moment to recognize that. But when you step back, you're like, you see this pattern that has developed and really intricately. And I remember really early on in my career, somebody came to me for some web design, and a buddy of mine and we were bidding it. And over the course of like 3 days of conversation with this guy back and forth, he talked us down, I think, to about 1/5 of our original offer.
Wow.
Because my buddy hadn't graduated college yet, and I had literally graduated within the last couple months. And so, to us, even 20% of what we asked for seemed like a big amount, because when you get that in a chunk, it seems large, but when you spread it out over the course of the hours that it will take you to do it, it's actually quite small.
Yeah.
And I remember he said, yeah, I think we're close. I think if we can just knock $50 off of that price, then we'll be good. And I immediately doubled my original offer right there.
Wow.
I said, well, now it's going to be this. And he said, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I said, hey, listen, I see the way that this is going. And so I'm adjusting my initial bid to compensate for the amount of time that it's going to take to deal with you during this project. What I was really doing is saying, if you want to do this, you're going to make it worth my while, because this is kind of, go to heck money.
Yeah.
And so I that was my invention of what I call the annoyance fee, which is as soon as I think that this client is going to be difficult, I increase the price. Nowadays, if I think the client is difficult, I just don't take them.
Can I jump in real quick, Corey?
Yeah.
How do you, because the way you said that, is that the way you proposed it to the client, or did you word it differently?
So because I did, that's exactly how I said it. Okay. Because I didn't want because I didn't want the job anymore.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I realized that this guy is just going to take advantage of
At that
me.
point, it's like, okay, you're trying to screw me. I don't really care. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Typically, I'd be a little more tactful than that, but
yeah, if I justday.com says we call it an aggravation.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's not just me, but in that situation, that guy, I mean, $50 was nothing compared to what we were. And so it was more insulting than it was anything else. I think it was just one little twist that he just wanted to get in, because I mean, you know, he was promising the world and he was saying it was going to revolutionize whatever, and us doing the packaging and the design and the logo work and completely branding this entire thing, plus the website and all this stuff was going to just make our careers. And we were like, I still don't know who this guy is or what he's done. He didn't revolutionize anything, because everything that he's working in is still exactly the same as it was before. So anyway, but yeah, that's how I said it. But at other times I do estimate on discovery, based on the amount of effort that I think it's going to take to get to a conclusion. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's not the same situation, because it's not like, oh, I'm annoyed and I'm trying to twist the knife and end this relationship. It's like, I see that there's multiple stakeholders here. So decision by committee always takes longer. So decision by committee means more work. So that's going to be a little bit more. Or I can see that we're a little bit indecisive. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm very clear on my milestones, and that I'm very clear on my explanation of how those milestones operate in the process. And even people that are kind of flighty or kind of back and forth or whatever, people that change their mind a lot, if they know going into it, you've managed their expectations, they're fine with that, you know, and they get to make decisions. I never spring it on somebody. Oh, now you cost me extra money, so now you owe me extra. I just say,
right,
that sounds great. If we go down that road, it will cost extra money because you've already signed off on this, and I'd be going back and having to redo that part. Let me get back to you in an hour and tell you how much that'll cost, and you can make a decision on whether we move forward on that or not. And normal people who are not trying to screw people are fine with those conversations. People that are trying to screw people, they pretend like they're offended, or they try to get whatever. I had a dude yelling and screaming in my office one time, like just like salivating and spittle and like red face. And, you know, and I was just like, you know, and I let him kind of run that out. And I said, hey, you know, I didn't come to you.
Right.
You know, you came to me, and it's fine. It's fine if this doesn't work out. I don't care. I don't need your work. I'm happy to help if it works out. But if my price causes you to fly off the handle like that, it's probably not going to be a good fit, you know? Yeah. And then he's like, oh, I can, there's this guy that does this work better than you. And he charges this much and blah, 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 blah.
Why not? I mean,
so go to that guy.
I said, fantastic. Go hire him. It sounds like you've already got a good partner.
Why would anyone even say that? It's like a total, I mean, it's like, okay, you basically just gave me an out there. If you got this guy, I mean,
but the problem is this guy, he had already burned a bridge with that guy.
Yeah, or that guy doesn't actually exist. It's usually the case.
It's a fake guy.
Right, or he's not that. And so I said, hey, if that's the case, that sounds great. Go hire him. Oh yeah, he's really busy. I said, okay, well, he needs to increase his rates then. If he's super busy, he needs to raise his rates. There are reasons that I charge what I charge, and it's because I don't want to work 80 hours a week. And so whenever I get too many clients, I increase my rates, and some of them go away. That's just supply and demand. So anyway, but yeah, I've had some interesting conversations with that, but that's what I found is I'll give somebody an oopsie, but on a second red flag, I either increase the price to where it'll be worth it, which is going to be a double-digit percentage of my yearly income. That's usually what I increase the price to. And I've had people take it, and I'm like, well, hey, I just made 20% of my yearly income on a project. That's going to be worth some aggravation.
That's key. It has to be worth the aggravation, especially if it's a big project. And like this one's one that came from the like entertainment kind of side of things, which I have a lot more experience with that than getting jobs with comics. So this was also kind of a hard one too, because it was like, okay, well, technically it's comic stuff, but it's not, it's for something else. But I found this isn't, I'm not trying to make some blanket statement, but in my experience working with film people, TV people, that kind of thing tends to be I tend to find a lot more people like that in there. There's a lot more like, hey, we're going to do this next big thing, and we know this person, we know that person, we got this thing, we got that thing, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to make a lot of money. Hey, baby, let's do the thing. And it just seems to be the MO. And that alone was a red flag immediately. It was like, okay, you want me to do a comic cover for not a comic?
And that's, and that makes sense. But I think in every industry, but especially in kind of the hustle side of the entertainment industry,
yeah,
they're gonna kind of talk like that because they're scrambling.
Yeah,
and but I mean, you get higher up the food chain, and they don't bat an eye at paying somebody industry rates to do industry things. And
right.
If you need character design on a cover and do a cover because it's going to sit on the table so that the characters can talk about it in an episode of a TV show, well, you can bet that they already know how much that costs.
Right.
And that it's not going to be a surprise to them, and that they know how to lay that out. And there's going to be an art director that you're talking to, not the manager of the project, or whatever. And then, whatever, or it's going to be indie and you get a piece of it.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always have to be money. It can be like, hey, if you really believe in this thing, I'd like a piece of some super low budget stuff. Like, wouldn't it be great to own a piece of like Napoleon Dynamite or something?
Sure.
I mean, that was put together on almost nothing.
That was actually on the table. That was one of the first things that was on the table in one of the initial emails. But I'll be perfectly honest, like that just sounded like a headache to me. And if I were to, I even told him like, look, I got a couple other things going. Number one being like my comic, which if you do respect me and you're familiar with my work, then you know that that's what I'm working on right now, and that I had a big thing happen, and I'm, and that's a schedule that I'm trying to keep. Honestly, that's important to me. So to have me drop that and do this thing, I need more than a promise of maybe a percentage for maybe a, da 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 da. But yeah, I agree. If it's something that you believe in and you think like, yeah, this is definitely going to go somewhere, all that, that's an option too. But I presented a counter offer for that, which is like that I could agree to something like that only under the condition that I have a very clear contract that says that regardless of what happens with this, at X amount of time, say like a year, 2 years from now or whatever, if this amount of money has not been made off of whatever that percentage was supposed to be, you pay me, I forgo all my rights, and you can have it back, and we're done. That was the only way that I could agree to something like that. He wasn't interested in that either, which, I found that very strange, because we're talking about a cover that it doesn't cost that much. Like you could have paid me back that like in a few months. Like it's right. It was getting a little. So I felt like maybe he didn't have enough faith in his project either. Then you're trying to sell me this idea of this future money, and you're not willing to put your own future money on the line to get me involved. I don't know. Because you're right. When you deal with the bigger studios, they have bigger budgets. It's amazing what they'll pay you to do. I mean, they'll pay you to just show up and tell other people where to go, and you'll make more than you can make in a week for some other, gig. But when people start telling you, I think when they start emphasizing too much about what companies are involved, what people might be involved, all that kind of stuff, I find that's a real telltale sign that you're not working with someone who's going to do that for you. They're hoping. And maybe it works for them, but in my experience, that tends to be not the case.
That's usually a red flag. That's usually a red flag. And I mean, there are legit projects where, there are some big names attached and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I find the way that information is delivered is telling.
Right. Yeah. Because
if it's delivered as hey, and so-and-so is involved, which is, kind of cool. It's exciting that they're doing that, or whatever. But if it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to make your day. I mean, this is going to change your life because name drop, it's like, pros deal with pros. And I might geek out at some names and not others, but like, if it ends up in a check, that's the real value of that,
Yeah, honestly.
Or whatever.
I hate to be that cynical, but it's the truth. We had an exchange as well where he was really trying to convince me that this is the thing that I needed to do, and I had to explain that, my value system. Like I'm a comic artist, I'm a cartoonist. That is who I am. That is what I'm doing. I mean, you're never going to change my mind about that. So if what you're offering me gets me closer to my goal of publishing books, then I'll do it for free. But that's not what you're offering me. You're offering me a detour that's going to take me longer to get to that goal. That's going to cost money and more than what I would charge. Like, I don't want to put this out there officially. Like, I don't want to get messages about this, but if one of my friends or someone that I even a friend of a friend in comics approached me and said, "Hey man, I love your work. This is, I would love if you would do like an alternate cover or something." There's a good chance I will do that for less than a commission or whatever. But if it's going to like veer off into some other thing, like a movie, whatever, I don't care. Like, it doesn't even matter to me. Bigger the production, it doesn't matter. It doesn't put books on my shelf. It doesn't put books under my belt as a comic artist. That's a huge deal to me. And I'm okay now. I'm not in need of money. Sure, more money would be great, but that you got to really, if you're going to try to entice me with all that stuff, at least wave a carrot that I'm interested in eating,
Yeah. Well, that's something, and I've seen Scott do this over the years, but that's something that's really interesting. Is it is difficult for a lot of people to understand that money is not necessarily priority number one, because we've got long-term goals that I'm moving towards, and each project that I produce, where I control the entire thing, is moving me closer towards where I want to be. And getting some money in the door is going to pay some bills, which is great.
Right.
But that money will then leave at some point in time as I pay those bills. And then I'm not any further ahead. I'm just further behind on the project that I was doing. So if you come to me and you like a comic cover or whatever for you, right, that actually does move you closer because it's within the realm that you want to work. Totally. It's another notch in your belt, in an applicable thing. And I've done stuff. I turn a lot of jobs down because I'm just not interested in the job, and it's not fair of me to charge enough to make it worth my while, because that I don't want to gouge anybody. But then, Scott comes to me and says, "Hey, I've designed this character. Do you want to animate it?" Absolutely. Let's make that work. Let's figure that out.
Right.
I learned a ton on that job. I'm really proud of that piece. It moved me forward on where I wanted to go with that. It was awesome. And there was money, right? And so there was more value than just money. And that's where I think a lot of people don't understand. It's like, well, I'm paying you. It's like, yeah, but McDonald's could pay me. My day job pays me. Like, I can go get money and not sacrifice, the mental and emotional effort and exertion. I've got a limited amount of that I can put towards projects.
Yep.
And there are ways to make money that don't exert that effort.
Yeah.
And take time. And so I can get money. And that's great. And I don't need money to validate my work. I'm not interested. I've gotten to the point where I'm old enough now to where, making money is nice, but it doesn't make me feel like my art is valid.
Right.
Like, I know that my work is valid because I have decided that it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people, and I used to be this, I needed to sell stuff. I needed to get paid to do this thing because that was the benchmark, the measurement that it was worth something. But it's intrinsically worth something because I've made it and I decided that it is worth something. Whether it's worth something to other people is up to them.
Right.
But I no longer need that validation either. And so for me, I take projects on when those projects move me towards what I want to do, and if that works, that's great. And if that means that there's going to be some sort of balance of money and non-monetary value exchange or whatever, I make sure that other stuff is real, like I'm going to have, like I'm doing that. I'll tell you, this is something that I was very concerned about. Is I am at the end of this week going to be asking people, and I've already asked a few a few people, but I'm going to be asking people to display their artwork in my animation. I'm not paying anyone in cash. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't taking advantage of anybody. And so I really went through, I ran it by a few people to make sure that it didn't feel like that. And I really checked myself to make sure that I wasn't trying to take advantage. And really, ultimately, it is a play for, I hope that it drives traffic to people, but it's not a hard sell. I'm not going in and saying like, hey, this is going to change your career. What I am saying is, here's what I can guarantee you. I will put your name everywhere that I possibly can in connection to your artwork. It will never be separated. It's going to be in the credits. It's going to be in the video descriptions. I'm going to dedicate a page on my website that has a gallery of time codes of where everything can be found. And I hope that I make something that's good enough where people show up. And I hope that you gain a couple followers, or that people start to become excited in the thing. And so I used to be very like black and white and like never anything for free, exposure facts or whatever. But like, I do actually believe that there are times where, taking a reduced rate for the right project or doing something for free, like the anthology, nobody got paid in that. That was a great experience. I loved it.
Helped a lot of people, actually. Like you hear a lot of, it's helped me. Of course, it's helped a lot of people that I know have kind of, even just getting published and having their names be able to be seen. People have contacted people to get other work. It's a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did that under the pretense of literally just getting, being a community project, literally just let's do something together because it would be fun. Like we never even promised anything like that.
If that's the only thing we got, that still would have been worth it, because I enjoyed working with everyone that was on that book. That was a fun thing. I got the value out of the relationships that I built in doing that.
Yeah.
And everything else is gravy. And so it's kind of the difference between the promise of exposure that's really exploitation and a true collaboration, which hopefully can turn into some exposure and future work. But at the very least, everyone moves forward towards the thing that they're trying to do.
Totally. Yeah. The book is a great example, actually, because I hadn't thought about it, but we've put a lot of work. No, I shouldn't say we. Robert, he was in the book. Robert Johnston, he's our web developer for the Hundreds. He put a ton of work into the website, and in a lot of ways, the book was sort of like a big advertisement for the website. But if you do go to the website, all that's on there is everybody's information. We're not selling anything on there. We're barely promoting the challenge. You can find the challenge on Facebook, but if you go to the 100daysmakingcomics.com, you can see all the members and everybody that's ever completed it. We've got a whole system where you can submit your stuff, and we've got all their links and stuff. So it was all to help the community. It was us working together to do something fun, but then also help everybody else that's involved. And that's the kind of thing that I could get behind and do for free. We all put a lot of time and effort into that thing. Yeah. And we got books out of it too. That's an important part too. There's a lot of anthologies that don't give you anything. Maybe you get one book, but
that was great. You put in weeks and weeks and weeks of effort towards that. That was huge. And I bit off way more than I anticipated doing the intro and the animation and the editing.
Oh yeah.
But I'm looking at that now, and I intentionally did that specific style where I was mixing raster and vector images and photographic and video assets and illustrated assets.
Mm-hmm.
That was the learning ground for what I'm doing now.
You're doing right now, yeah.
Which awesome. Was exactly what I wanted it to be, and so I was going to do that anyway. And I thought, hey, why not do this and have it benefit more than just me while I'm figuring out how to do this?
Yeah.
So
and it was awesome. That was a lot of fun to just watch.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Cool. Scott, final thoughts, red flags, or how you deal with bad clients?
Well, recently I'm trying to kind of move away from clients. I had, I basically had one client that was kind of a great client because the work was super easy, not a whole lot of changes. And it was just like, he gives me inspiration to like, I want to see something like this, and I do it. And it's like, cool, that's great. And it paid very well. And then that's kind of like up in the air right now. At first I thought it was gone. It may come back, but the thing is, I'm not going to lie. I mean, that was a big chunk of my income that kind of went away. But if somebody came to me, with a project, and I did see all these red flags and stuff, I have no qualms about turning that away, because even though, sure, I could use the money, it's going to take me away from this other stuff that I'm working on. And while the stuff that I'm working on right now may not, pay immediately, I know eventually it's going to make me money. So it's also kind of looking at the big picture. And I know if I get approached with some project with a lot of these red flags, it's just going to be a headache, and I'm going to be cursing myself the whole time. So, I mean, and a lot of that just comes with experience, noticing that stuff, and just say, this just isn't worth it. I mean, I'd rather eat ramen a little more, rather and work on my own stuff that I know, that I can make it worth my while down the road. And maybe this is just my position I'm in. I mean, I've done some of this stuff, so I've had some success in this. If it's a little unproven for you, that may be a different story. But you do kind of live and you learn. That's where I am right now, where because I mean, I just remember looking back when I was just getting started and everything, and I would take on these things because, I just need I need that. And then you start working on it. And you're like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? It's not worth it. It's whatever money I'm getting paid, it's not worth it. So I'd rather go and, lay bricks and stuff on the side and make some money doing that and do my own stuff on the side. So, yeah. Anyway.
I could definitely relate to that for sure. There's certain things that maybe they're not making money right now, but they're so important for, like we were saying, the long-term goals or just what you want to do with your life even, I know those little things build up over time too, and can be way more worth investing that time into. Because, do you want to get a short little gig that can make you a little bit of money right now, or, do this other thing that could maybe make you a lot more later? It's got to be worth it. It's ironic too, actually, because I this thing fell apart, and then in the last few days since it fell apart, I released a new print, and I've made maybe about like 50% of what I was gonna get paid from that stupid gig doing nothing. Like, I mean, I put a lot of work in before, but in terms of where I'm at now in the present, I didn't do anything but throw together a Photoshop thing in 10 minutes to advertise it. So, I mean, should I go to work for you for weeks and do all this other crap, or just get back to my comic and remember that I had a print that I should be selling?
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, if there are good clients out there that do want to get a hold of you, where should they find you?
Commissions are closed, man. Don't get a hold of me. You could go to cisfiendcomplex.com. You could also go, speaking of my print, it's really cool. Can I show it really quick? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think this is just one of the craziest things I've ever made. So this is called, I should probably share my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. Boom. It's called The Dark Side of Hyrule. Wow. So if you're into Zelda, specifically Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, and you happen to be a Pink Floyd fan, I spent a lot of time on this thing. So I'm selling this. It's a print in my store. I just ordered a proof to check it out. And it's got all the little bosses and stuff. So if you've played that game, you should recognize all the bosses from Link to the Past. And they're all exploding out of this Triforce, and we got the pig Ganon, which is pretty classic. I'm very happy with it. I can't wait to get a print of it myself. But yeah, if you dig it, I'd really appreciate if you went and got a copy of it. That would help me out a lot. I'm taking pre-orders now too, so yeah.
That looks great. And that's also at your website?
Yeah, you can get there through Sisyphene Complex. I think there's a shop button up there. That should take you there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Scott, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find my Making Comics 101 series on YouTube right now. We're talking about lettering this week. What else? I got a Patreon, my website, circworks.com. Yeah.
Cool. And as always, you can find my stuff at coreykerr.com. And I will have a video that I'm going to release. I'm going to schedule to be released tomorrow morning. It's the first sponsored video that I've done in a while. And so you guys will be doing me a huge favor if you watch that. Awesome. To drive some of the numbers up. So, and if you're interested in the product, just click on the link in the description or whatever, but it's cool. So check that out. And I do a little studio tour of the artwork on my walls and some of the equipment that I've got and some of the toys I've got over there and some of that stuff. Cool. So that's fun. So
check it out just for the artwork. Yeah, I want to see Corey's gallery in there.
I know. I want to fill the space. I've just got kind of like a couple of rows, but I want like floor to ceiling. But anyway, yeah, all of that is contingent on more cash flow, which isn't happening right now. So, but anyway, yeah. So thanks for checking stuff out. Go buy Mike's poster, and we'll see you guys Wednesday afternoon.
Awesome.